to just welcome folk this morning. It's 8 o'clock, or it's just gone 8, and it's great that we've got a good few people arriving, and we're recording the session so that we can get it out to people afterwards. We're on a fairly tight timeline, and this is going to not be a long session. We're probably going to be done and dusted within about 40 minutes. So we'll just give people a couple of minutes just so that we've got a critical mass before we start. Okay, I'm gonna make a start because certainly one of our presenters is on a tight timeline. I'm going to welcome everybody here and say that this is an open meeting of the secondary forum. We've had one or two of these before, where we've sensed that there's an important theme knocking around, and that there's been value in welcoming not just head teachers, but senior staff and other key people in schools to share in some input around a particular theme. And I'm sure if you're on this call, you will, like me, have been following with some anxiety the developments around the downside of T-levels. So not specifically anything to do with T-levels, but more about the implications for other qualifications and what's happening with the future of BTECs. It was, I think, at the last full secondary forum that in his post-16 forum update, Locke Wheaton gave us a bit of an overview, and because he's been speaking to people in London, in the DFE and around the place, we felt that it was really worth having some of what Dan has picked up shared with the system in Birmingham as developments are current and critical. So this meeting is to hear from Dan. I'm going to just steer this thunder a little bit and say that he is indeed speaking to us from the Amalfi Coast in the south of Italy, and he's already talked to me about water pistols and eating out at midnight. So we'll try not to get distracted by the fact that our colleague head teacher has managed to organise his professional life so smoothly. And full of envy. We're going to say thanks very much, Dan, for still honouring this commitment and being able to speak to us, but also to say to folk that we've only got Dan for a little while this morning, but we've got a bit of input from Jenny North and Sian Powell, who'll introduce themselves after Dan. So we're going to have Dan's input, then we're going to have a little chance for some question and answer using the chat, and then we're going to have a couple of other little presentations, and we're going to round up with a bit of an update from Bep on one or two things. But all in all, the meeting will be done and dusted, I think, pretty quickly. So thanks for being here. It is being recorded. We'll send out the recording so that you can pass it on to others, so you don't have to make notes frantically. And Dan's presentation is also being shared. Dan, over to you.
Good morning, everyone. Hope you are okay. Hope everyone can hear me okay, and I do apologise if my internet is a little bit ropey. So as Tim's mentioned, the purpose of today is not just to talk about T-levels, but it's to pick up the previous post-16 conversation we had across Birmingham around post-16 curriculum changes, BTEC, etc., and hopefully give you a little bit of advice and guidance about what you should be thinking about at the moment. I'm sure you all are, but also, as Tim's alluded to, some of the messages that are coming through politically at the moment and socially from the government that we've heard. So hopefully that is useful to you. So I'll start off with then, in terms of BTEC, and go straight in with BTEC and sort of where I would be pitching at the moment as our school and colleges are pitching, but also I extend the opportunity to pick up any conversation offline with any of our school leaders who are thinking about how do we navigate and what do we look at with our curriculum. So we have had a significant change that came out in February. I think most people have picked up on that now. give a good shout out to the Sixth Form Colleges Association and the work they did, which was around Protect Student Choice. And if you haven't already, I would really encourage you to sign up. You can sign up for that without being a member of the Sixth Form Colleges Association. It's really useful to push out there. And if you are in dialogue with ministers, either party or any party, and certainly local government, etc., it's really important to keep pushing out the idea of Protect Student Choice. Clearly, with Protect Student Choice, it's about offering the fact that we want that diversity for learners. We're not against T-levels. In fact, I'm very much positive for T-levels, and I'll talk about that as we go through. But more importantly, we do know the massive significant input, and we looked at this around 6 to 8 months ago, especially in Birmingham, and this is where obviously where Sian and Jenny will come in and support as well, is the fact that how many students, and obviously Protect Student Choice estimates over 155,000 students who, because of the uplift in terms of the academic ability to do T-levels and the loss of BTECs, means that they will fall through the gap. And hopefully this message is not just relevant, in fact, it's probably more relevant for leaders of looking at year 11. That's probably what we're focusing on today. And those choices for students at the end of their GCSEs, not just saying, you know, oh, it's about my sixth form, the leader of my sixth form. So if you're a leader in the city where you don't have a sixth form, this is very much relevant because the very simple fact of it is NEETs are going to go through the roof without a doubt. So the good news is that we saw from the Shadow Skills Minister, and actually this has been formally announced in Parliament now, that a pause and review. So the champion of the work done by Protect Student Choice has now led then to Labour turning around and saying, if we are elected, we will pause and review, which doesn't sound like much, but in the world of politics, that's huge. And to put it in context, doctors have been trying to get a pause and review on some of their decisions for the last 5 years and haven't got it. So, you know, it was an element of, you know, you'd want a reverse or you'd want a confirmation to say we will not cancel BTECs. You're not going to get that. And actually a pause and review is really positive. What that means is it means then that at least BTECs are going to be here to 26 and 27. That means that effectively I've been speaking to exam boards who have already been winding down, but they've been very clear. And the exam boards have said because of this change and because of this decision, they are now pausing their wind down and they're putting everything on readiness that if there's a change in government, that they can continue with those. Some of you may be running courses at the moment, which are due to end at the end of this academic year and into next year, maybe last year running through. The simple message is that just keep going with those BTECs because if there is a change, you will be able to continue those to at least 2027 as well. At the moment, I haven't put the latest update because I've been out of the country, been reading about it and stuff. But clearly, for those that are following the looking at effectively the Labour government's position on education, it's starting to drip through now, but we're not at the level of detail or the granularity to see specifically how they're dealing with these courses. But that's going to come out over the next couple of weeks, as we certainly see, and there'll be information we'll share around post this meeting as well. So in terms of T-levels, some of you may be running T-levels, some of you may not be, some of you may have students obviously leaving your year 11s who have started T-levels over the last couple of years. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs necessarily of what T-levels are. I'm hoping by now people have picked up on those qualifications. But, you know, we're not an anti-T-level. In fact, as a specialist centre now for T-levels, I absolutely love the course. So do my teachers, so do the students, so do the parents, so do the employers. So, you know, it is a fantastic course. It's just bloody hard, very hard, and not only for the student, but hard to run as a school. They're also very expensive, which I'll come on to as we go through. But we had the Technical Education Learner Survey came out in April. Some of you may have seen this, but actually this was effectively the feedback from the first cohort of T-level students. And the reason this was so important is we're now actually onto the government, onto second round T-levels and T-levels now that are being redeveloped into version 2 T-levels as well. And this is where they're taking on board not only the stuff that's come out of the Technical Education Survey, but some of the core groups that they're working with and some of the key advisors, which I sit as one of them, where we're advising in terms of the changes that need to be made if T-levels continue to make T-levels really effective and sit within our student choice platform. That included even yesterday. And 2 weeks ago, I was down at the Department of Education working with senior advisors and people were actually writing the T-levels, and especially going into this review of round 2 of how we can tweak and change to make them really effective, not only to go into the workplace, but also to go into university as well. So ultimately, the overall arching things that came out of the work, and I agreed by ourselves, but also the education survey, is destinations varied by route. Placements made the most difference to students, even though they're the hardest thing to do. And I'll mention some of the challenges around that and some top tips. And also there was a high increase of those getting jobs from placements, which is clearly the advantage and why you want to do as part of that. Overall, you could see that 44% was studying for a university degree. That is, depending on the subject, that's a little bit of a loaded stat. And that's one of the things we found at the moment, especially in STEM subjects around engineering, is that most students coming off the T-level are being offered a place on a foundation degree, not a full degree. Now, that's massively significant. We've worked with the department on this to look at why, and we've also worked with universities to look at why that's happening. And it comes down to the trust in the qualification, but it specifically comes down to the loss of the visibility of the maths within the qualification. There's an irony, and again, I appreciate this doesn't apply to all of the pathways of T-levels, but certainly in the ones that are heavily maths related, so the STEM related ones and the health ones. Maths is part of a BTEC. As we know, in extended diploma, you would have your year 12 A-level maths unit, and you'd have your year 13 further maths unit. And of course, the universities often would ask for a distinction in those units and may ask you to do a maths exam on entry, like, for example, UOB do for engineering. What they've done for T-levels is they've merged everything together. It's an irony. The maths is actually harder in the T-level engineering than it is in the BTEC engineering. But they've hidden the maths. It's within an encompassing core result that you get. So as a result of that, the universities can't see the visibility of the qualification. So we're hoping the continuation of T-levels goes on. And if that happens into version 2, certainly pathways will have more visibility. We've recommended that the maths is actually shown as a separate qualification. And we've also worked with universities to confirm if that happens, the numbers going on to main degrees rather than foundation degrees would increase as well. 40% were in paid work. Yeah, absolutely. I think some of my slides pick this up. Most of that came out through education care students and child students. And there's a natural affinity there, isn't there? You've completed a level 3 T-level in childcare, and then you can go straight into work as a childcare practitioner in nurseries, etc. So that's where we saw that. And equally, T-levels in construction. Obviously, this is one that we deliver. I'll be honest, T-level construction and T-levels goes together like a hand in glove. And we're seeing a massive proportion now of students being offered apprenticeships at the end of their first year to see them through. In fact, it's competition for that. So it's a really positive route we're seeing around the construction. And we hope that feedback from employers, regardless of a government change, would then enable the fact that T-levels have a chance of remaining. I'll come on to government change shortly if that happens. Again, I've covered the degree side of it as well, but again, increasing numbers going into apprenticeships as well, depending on that level. And the number of NEETs was fairly low, but equally at the same time needs to drop. But the concern is not necessarily the NEETs within T-levels; it's the NEETs that will sit outside of that for those that can't get onto the cohort of T-levels. Placements were valuable to students. Placements were valuable to employers was the summary of it. It is somewhere where they have looked to dilute the T-level, because we all know, and those that are working in the area know, that placements are really, really hard. Not only hard in terms of finding them, they're hard in terms of competition. Across Birmingham, there's other providers all wanting to do it nationally. They're looking at it as well. But more importantly, the level of effort from staff to try and go out and get placements to do that. And more importantly, what we found from working this over the last 2 years, it's making sure that person is at the right level. So if you are considering T-levels, and you're probably on a pause anyway on curriculum until after the election, but if you are considering, or you're starting this year first on T-levels, my biggest advice would be the most important role is your person who's seeking to get the placements, but don't go at the wrong level. Historically, colleges and others have gone in at what would be more of a work experience level, and it's struggling. Where we've had success is we've actually gone higher, and of course that's where it's expensive, but you're looking for somebody who's effectively a B2B marketing person. That's a business-to-business marketing or sales person, somebody who can go in and get access to the MD level. That's what you're looking at, and that's quite significant and quite different to somebody who's contacting, cold calling, going through the bottom, trying to work the way up. To get sustained placements rather than just a quick, can I drop in there and have a quick placement, and to get it embedded as a partnership, it has to be at board level, especially within the SMEs and especially in the large companies as well. So having that person, that's a really, that you're talking probably somebody on a £60,000 type of role is an expensive cost but the investment does pay back in terms of then bringing in those ones. And once you've done that, you can then scale it back down to have someone lower in terms of knowledge and skills to be able to then move and have that relationship manager. But that early stage is absolutely vital in terms of the cohort as well. So again, those with construction, a lot moves directly onto apprenticeships from that. And as I said already, a lot are directly seeing that. A lot of construction companies now are replacing their apprenticeship routes and some of their leading stuff by coming straight to T-level, seeing that now as their pre-apprenticeship route into it, which is exactly what it should be and works very effectively as well. So one of the key things around that was there was a talk around diluting the issue around the days, so taking out the 45 days and bringing it down. In fact, the survey shows that many people did more than 45 days, up to 60 and 70 days. And there was a direct correlation between the number of days a student did and the chances of getting a job at the end or their degree. So again, not surprising. Again, we've cautioned against this. If T-levels do continue, same government, different government, there's a danger that if we dilute the work experience down, though it's very hard to do and it's expensive, actually the qualification loses its value with employers. And if we do that, we're actually into a qualification which over time just will not exist as well as we move forward. So the last bit then is in terms of what came out was the fact that the numbers on T-levels have been low. In fact, clearly at the moment, the amount of money that's been spent on T-levels by the government is huge. But there's an irony to this: they spent an extraordinary amount of money on T-levels, yet actually not spent enough. And that's been a challenge we're trying to push back. And at the moment, for those working in the world, you get 10% uplift, for example, on some of the funding lines, 3% here in other places. In reality, it's still not enough to cover some of the larger costs that I've covered already today in things like the placements. One of the other challenges around, because these numbers are low, is that exam boards now are struggling to effectively make it work. If you look at the key difference between T-levels versus BTEC, everything's marked in-house. So one of the reasons what staff, not only because it's a very relevant qualification, T-levels, it's very modern, the content is very up to date, but one of the things staff are very much liking over T-levels versus BTEC is it's taken their workload massively down. And as a huge BTEC level 3 provider, there's a massive amount of marking done by staff that will be offset and gone to exam board. The challenge, of course, is that's only viable if the exam board is making enough money off that and can employ the right number of people. And one of the decisions that they made very early in the T-level journey was to spread out the fact they basically cut between the chase is that they didn't want Pearsons running T-levels. So therefore they spread across all the providers the chance to run different T-levels. What we've actually seen is that doesn't work. Not only has it led to a huge amount of jumps through from different exam bodies to get into T-levels, what it's actually led to is the fact now that they're not being viable, and places like NCFE, etc., are now passing their T-levels back to Pearsons. So, if we carry on as we are with T-levels, my prediction would be that within a year to 2 years, all the T-levels would reside back with Pearson. Again, we'd be back where we were with the BTEC, because it just doesn't work to spread and distribute. That has some advantages, and the work we were doing yesterday with the DFE was talking about the hassle and the setup issue to do with T-levels and the jump throughs you've got to do, and the fact that every single body has a different set of regulations to go through and a different set of forms. But again, if you want any help with that, if you are starting that journey, please do reach out. As I say, we're doing every single T-level board that exists there, so we've been through it and we're happy to share and help people along that journey. So one of the other key challenges, but also where we've got a real key outcome that's really great news, is that everyone talked about the fact and the concern around the discounting of T-levels against BTECs, i.e. if you're doing a level 3 T-level, there will be a discount. You cannot do the level 3 BTEC. And we're familiar with that now, which is obviously the concern, and going back to my second slide today around personal and student choice. What a lot of people didn't realise, though, and didn't think, including employers, is that it would also forward discount as well. So in other words, if they were going from a level 3 T-level and the route into the employment is a level 3 apprenticeship, the actual T-level itself would cancel out the level 3 apprenticeship, i.e. a learner cannot move from level 3 to level 3. Now, this has massive implications in certain areas. One was clearly around beauty and hair. You'd have noticed that, maybe saw the news recently that they've dropped, I think it's hair side, I think they've dropped out of the hair and beauty course. And in reality of that, it's again because it was a level 3 apprenticeship that it was going into. And the employers said, when we've looked at it, why would I take on a T-level student who doesn't have the same experience as a level 3 apprenticeship? I have them for 2 years. They're 80% of the time with me, 20% at college. They're going to get the skills and knowledge that's needed for the standard better, and the outcome of the leaving of the level 3 apprenticeship is far ahead than the level 3 of the T-level. So that was the challenge of that. One of the other areas where we saw that, and for those that have picked up clearly, as we're working with the Goldsmiths and we're setting up the Goldsmiths Institute in Birmingham now for the jewellery quarter, was the jewellery sector, who itself has a level 3 apprenticeship as the route. So as it stood, students would not be able to go on to jewellery apprenticeships at all in the jewellery quarter had they done the jewellery T-level. So we've been working over the last 2 years or 18 months with the DFE and IFAT on this. And the good news is we've been able to have a major breakthrough. And that's the agreement that where we can prove there is a significant variance between what is on the T-level knowledge and skills versus the apprenticeship knowledge and skills, and bear in mind they're based on the same framework and the same template, the Institute for Apprenticeships and Technical Education would agree that an accelerated apprenticeship could occur. That means, so for jewellery, it means I can offer effectively a 3-year course to my learners. They come and do 2 years of the T-level, in which they do 80% of the time with me and 20% on their day's placements out. And then in the final year, it flips round and they do their final year of their apprenticeship. So in other words, it's a top-up apprenticeship. It means after 3 years, the students would leave with both the T-level and a level 3 apprenticeship. So this accelerated apprenticeship route has only just gone through. We worked on it on jewellery very closely. Because of that, it's now been piloted across craft and design, and therefore this is an option moving forward. I say the word if, because of course we sit in the world of the change of government, which I'll go on to now talking about. So effectively, last bit around the T-levels and advice around there. There was the last round of capital funding happened 6 months ago. No confirmation of further capital funding and potential would not happen with a change of government. The bluntness of it, most of the T-levels, unless you've already got specialist facilities, they are very expensive and they require significant investment. When you do get funding, it doesn't necessarily cover the cost of what you need. I'll give you some examples of that. Engineering, $500,000 doesn't even touch the sides of what's needed in terms of specialist equipment for engineering. Health, again, coming through, you're talking probably around 400,000 of investment in terms of the type of equipment that you need to deliver the health model. So if you're already in that area and you've got those facilities and it suits obviously FE colleges and UTCs, that's great. If you're not, that's a challenge. But then what I would offer, that allows them partnerships. So I'll put that out there today. It's an area of interest because clearly I've got a £500,000 simulation hospital here for T-levels, especially in a specialist T-level building. It's empty on some of the times. So if there's schools out there who are interested in getting involved but thinks, how can I use these facilities? I think this is where our partnerships coming in on network in Birmingham and how we can really take an advantage step with this and start working as part of our collaborations together as part of that route for capital funding. So to finish then, let's think about the future and the latest news that's coming out at the moment. This first presentation was put together and delivered ironically before the announcement, and I'm delivering the update now, obviously knowing where we are. I think I'm not here to talk about politics. It wouldn't be appropriate, and we've all got our own personal opinion on this, and we're probably in a dilemma where maybe personal opinions are different to work opinions. But ultimately, we know there's going to be a likeliness there could be a change in government. We don't know how T-levels will fare. BTEC, we do know, okay? So we know that if it's a Conservative government remains, the removal of BTEC will continue. If it's a Labour change, it will stay, okay? It will have a pause and review, and the likelihood is it will stay. And the message at the moment is just carry on doing what you are doing. Do not remove your BTECs. Do not move on to keep your alternative qualifications going. Don't move on to AAQs because I think the AAQs will disappear as well. So that's where we are standing at the moment. And obviously you'll have your own opinion on likelihood of a potential change there. The workaround is obviously seeking an environment where A-levels, BTECs and T-levels coexist. There could be an option around if Conservatives are re-elected that they may consider that environment around some of their T-levels, but in reality, the government is still working heavily on T-levels. It's not known how Labour at the moment will consider it. They came out and talked about and said they were supportive of that, but we saw the previous changes when I started building AUEA as a diploma school. We broke ground in 2011, and by 2012 of opening, the diploma was gone. So that's a considerable concern around that T-levels could just disappear. But I know people are invested like ourselves, and also people are starting to transition and dip their toes into the next academic year as well. The biggest issue at the moment, and the changes, is the timing of the election. And this was a conversation we're having yesterday with the department already. And also the work that's going on in the background of the T-levels has all paused. So because of the nature of effectively not purdah, but obviously the pause for the election period, there's still a huge amount of T-level work, especially around assessment pieces, especially around versions 2 and where we work into those courses that are into their second year, which the government have admitted yesterday they're having to pause because they're not allowed to work on it at the moment. So we've got a delay that's going to happen. There's a lot of work that was due to happen between now and the summer by the T-level team in terms of assessments and getting information out to schools. That's not happening at the moment, and that came direct from the horse's mouth yesterday's meeting. They can't work on it at the moment. The other challenge clearly is the fact that any confirmation on that curriculum change, i.e. will T-levels be around, will not be known. And if you work this through yourself, you're probably there anyway, in the fact that ultimately, if there's an election on the 4th, well, there is an election on the 4th of July, it means we'll know if there's a change, or in that also, and it's important to note, that doesn't make a difference if it's still Conservative. There will still be effectively a change of government, there will be a change of leadership team, there'll be a change of opportunity to change ministers. So we'll have ministers elected in middle of July. At that point, they'll go on to summer recess. So effectively, we're not going to know a decision, whether that's Labour coming in where they are with T-levels, or whether that's Conservative and the change around BTECs and T-levels. We won't probably know that this side of summer. And that means that when we're going into August and we are then recruiting students onto courses, there is a chance that we could be recruiting students onto a course that come September, October is saying T-levels are no longer going to be applicable, or this cohort will see this cohort through. But of course, as a parent, that will have massive implications, as with the students, in terms of student choice as well. So it's a real concern, I think, about how this summer's results. The other meetings I've had yesterday with other members of the department, they're chasing me for my figures, wanting to know how many kids are signed up, etc. And my simple answer is we've got good, strong numbers. People know about T-levels now. It's starting to increase, which is great. But actually, when it comes to push and shove over the summer and we don't have the choice, they will choose BTEC or they will choose A-level every time over the T-level course if there's that uncertainty as well. So that's a summary of where we are as a bit of an update. I hope that was useful to everybody. I'll take questions.
Thanks ever so much, Dan. That was comprehensive, helpful, and positive, given all the uncertainties that we're navigating. Just to reiterate, chat Q&A are functions for you. I think that in this wonderful world of big meeting Zoom, people don't get to call out. So I'm looking for anything in the chat or the Q&A. Dan, do you know what the kind of the level of provision and uptake is across the city? We've got a sense of how it is in your setting.
Yeah, I think there's a number of panels we sit on, varying by course. So we sit on, for example, a collaboration between colleges around health. So we're seeing those. I think it's a mixed bag. I think one of the things that's come out is where colleges have introduced, and Jenny may give an opinion as well, but where colleges have introduced where they've got existing courses. I know Southend City had this as well. Business would be a good example. Where they've got existing courses, you end up competing with yourself as well. So that's just something to bear in mind, that if you are rolling out, are you phasing out another course and replacing it with a T-level? So I think it's varied. The dropout rate as well. We've seen an increased number of students start on a T-level. We haven't ourselves personally, but start on a T-level and then move to a BTEC. And the final point that's linked to that is the entry requirements. And I think for those who haven't picked up on this, it goes back to the point of why we see there's an increased risk of NEETs. And obviously moving forward, obviously it's research will come in terms of obviously our concerns around that, is that it's an A-level standard course. The first year of the core is A-level, and effectively you've got to get a B in that course to move on to universities or some of the higher degree apprenticeships. So it really is a high-level course you need to get in. So interviewing the right students, making sure they're on the right course. Otherwise, what's going to happen is you'll end up with high dropout rates or high repeat rates for your year 2. Jenny, would you agree with that?
Yes, Dan. Yeah, it is a danger, but there's a great positivity from the placements, isn't there? That outline we haven't found the problem with progression into foundation other than Russell Group universities or medicine. You know, I've been in this game for 41 years, and this year we have managed to get Science BTEC 2 students into a foundation medical degree, which is amazing. So I hope it doesn't take 41 years for T levels to be accepted in the same way. It's just something to share. It's a battle. We're fighting with currency. People are a little apprehensive about making sure that it's successful as a new product. So entry requirements have risen more than I would have liked across the piece.
I have to say, Jenny, you're going to have to give us the secret of eternal youth then, if you've been at it for 41 years.
Oh, I love it. Thank you very much.
I just thank you for the comment in the Q&A saying chat is disabled. So use the Q&A if you've got anything to say. I'm conscious, Dan, that you're on tight timing. So I'm going to give one last call. Any questions for Dan in Q&A? And if not, then I think it's Sian who goes next with just a little bit of input from the city on NEETs and her world, and then we'll come back to you, Jenny.
Thanks, everyone. I'll say goodbye, but
yeah,
contact me offline if anyone's got any questions.
Absolutely. We all know where Dan is when he's not in Amalfi. And yeah, thanks ever so much, Dan. Have a good day. Cheers. Bye-bye. Great. So, Sian, do you want to start off just by introducing yourself and giving us a little bit of your insights? Thank you.
Okay, my name is Sian Powell, and I work for Birmingham City Council for the Careers Service, and I'm one of the Careers Delivery Managers. I'm here today really to talk about the Careers Service risk of NEET offer for school leavers and college leavers. So I'll focus on that. But just something to reiterate that Dan said about NEET figures and a rise in NEETs. So just a little bit of information that I have. At the end of January this year, the NEET figure stood in Birmingham at 906. So that's for 16 to 18-year-olds. As of the 5th of June, that had risen to 1,315. And that is obviously quite a significant rise and higher than we've seen in previous years. But a note of caution, that is obviously before school leavers, so before the Year 11 statutory school leaving date, and other leavers hit the books. So that has been quite a big rise in NEETs already. So I just thought I'd throw that in because Dan had spoken about that. I don't have a formal presentation, but Dan had suggested I just mention about our risk of NEET offer. We've already had quite a lot of referrals from schools and colleges, but Birmingham Careers Service always puts out a risk of NEET offer to schools and colleges, and that went live on the 2nd of April this year. I'll try and share my screen in a moment to show it you on our web page, but I'm not that familiar with Zoom. As I said earlier, this is my first Zoom meeting. We're used to Teams. The risk of NEET offer is available to all schools and colleges, and it's for young people who you've identified as being at risk of NEET on your register or your school equivalent, your risk of NEET register, or young people that are predicted not to be at risk of not taking up their offer of education, employment and training in September, or perhaps don't hold an offer. So those young people that are significantly at risk. To refer, you need to complete one of our referral forms, and that must be fully completed. If the form isn't fully completed, we can't accept it. And I'll try and show you that in a moment. It must include full details of the young person, including contact numbers, mobile, email, landline, and a named school contact or college contact that we can go back to and liaise with. In return, the young person would get a named careers advisor who would support them. They'll contact them before the school leaving date. They won't offer guidance until they've left school. And then during the summer holidays, they would have ongoing support from the advisor, hopefully enabling them to progress into NEETs by the end of September. If not, they would continue to have that support from their named careers advisor whilst they were officially NEET until they progressed into EAT. We record all of the work that we do on the local authority database. So that is the database that reports directly the figures across Birmingham to DfE. DfE can extrapolate data. They just go in and extrapolate the data at key certain points. So they get the September guarantee data, and they would get the first annual activity count on the 1st of November. It's actually destination counts. By what we would do as well is by the 11th of week beginning the 11th of November, we would provide schools with an update about all the work that's been done with their NEET young people, their risk of NEET young people, I should say, but they would be NEET by then if they were still NEET. So then we get a brief summary about the work that's been done. I'm going to try now to share my screen. The first time I've ever done this on Zoom, so please bear with me. So I'm going to share that. I don't know if this is working actually, because that working, it's not, is it? No, sorry, I don't think that's, I've got it. Sorry, got it. So if you go to our website, there is a risk of NEET page, and I'll share this afterwards. The link is there. I'll put in the Q&A afterwards. And that just takes you down, and it's basically, it says the information that I've just recounted, but probably much better and more succinct. And it tells you who to contact for further details. One of those would be me. It can also take you to the referral form. So we'll see if this will work. Right, I might have to do something else. Let me see if I can share this now. Yeah. And the referral form, there it is. So you can go through and it shows you the details that you have to provide.
I'm afraid, Sean, that hasn't come up for us. We can just
hasn't it? Sorry.
Download it.
Okay, I'll send it through. So I apologise. It's probably just not my screen sharing very well. So I do apologise for that. Come back. So yes, I'm not the best at this. I do apologise for that, but hopefully you were able to see that. Are you able to see the website?
Yep. Yeah.
It's just that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. I'll send it through. I did send it through to Kim before the meeting anyway last week. So all of that's there, and that would take you to the referral form on there anyway. So that's basically it from me. If people have got any questions. I should say that last year I think we had over 600 referrals, and I think we're on over 300 at the moment. So that's it.
Thank you so much, Sean. It is an incredibly important responsibility of all of us in all of our different settings to try and do all we can to avert NEET kids. So thank you for that. And I think the Ronnie tool has been around for a long time, but it's a good reminder to everybody that it's there, that the service still exists, and that you're up and running and available. Jenny, over to you. Thank you, Jenny. You're on mute, Jenny. You're on mute.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Excellent, excellent. So I'm here to just point out to secondary heads what the current offer is at BMET and how we can support young people and their parents and guardians at this time of year. First of all, if you want to apply for a BMET course, you go to the BMET website or you come and see us. And we are open this Saturday for our open day, 10 till 1, where we will have fleets of careers advisors, careers champions, and tutors from all the subjects to help at each of our 3 campuses. Or students can be directed to come and see us in a panic on GCSE results day. Because of the number of courses that we have, we can be a safe harbour for any students or parents and guardians needing support. We offer 22 A-levels, covering most subjects at our Sutton-based college, and we also offer 15 different types of apprenticeship training. All of this is in our prospectus, which is very snazzy here. And I will make sure Kim Haith has our electronic prospectus so that everyone can fully access that, or you can just go to our BMET website. The apprenticeships include accounts, bricklaying, business administrator, carpentry, customer services, dental nurse, engineering, horticulture and landscaping, HR, installation electrician, content creator, paralegal, pharmacy, sports coach, and teaching assistant. But that offer is developing all the time. At BMET, we offer BTEC qualifications, vocational qualifications at foundation level, and that area is growing. So we can help all students needing extra support. We've had a big increase in numbers of places for that this year. And we also offer level 1, which requires no formal qualifications, level 2, that requires entry qualifications of grade 3 or the old D in 4 subjects, or level 3, 4 or 5 GCSEs at 4 or above, depending on the subject. We have 15 different vocational areas that we train in, including art and design, business law and criminology, childcare, early years, computer science, esports, construction, horticulture, dental technology, engineering, fashion, foundation learning, health and social care, media, music, performance, science, sport, travel and tourism, and uniformed services. We also offer a T-level selection, where, as Dan kindly explained to us, it's an 80% college classroom-based, 20% work experience. And we have been doing this 1 year so far. We're just coming up to our 2nd year, and we're offering design, survey and planning from construction, engineering, digital production, digital support services, education and early years, healthcare, science and business. And we're expecting this to grow. Fingers crossed. We'll all wait and see what happens from July the 4th onwards. BMET also offer extra support and quality in developing young people with their personal development. We have a high quality CEIAG offer. We use Zello, we pay for the license for Careers Coach, which any of secondary head students can use with their parents. They can click on our website and carry out the interest inventory using the careers assessment tool that we pay for to be on our website to help students choose the right course in the first place, matching their skills. So I would really recommend any bunnies that are still unclear, if we direct them to our website, they can use the Careers Coach tool. And that's used thousands of times a year, and it really can help students get on the right course. We offer a very large range of enrichment activities, including sports and voluntary work, of course, work experience, that every student is expected to do 2 separate weeks of work experience during their time with us. And if they're not ready, one of those weeks can be virtual work experience or in-house live action projects to raise confidence and improve that ability to go out and get a work experience placement. We run student conferences where we helping students find their voice and gain those important employability skills for when they leave us and move on to a positive destination. And we offer European work experience and American work experiences as well to excite them. And there's no money involved in all of that. That's supported through the Gecko project. And Learn a Voice and our encouragement of students to be active in things like being student ambassadors and so on are continuing to grow. So we're not just offering the courses, there's a long list of them. We're hopefully offering a lot of equipment, ideas and contacts and resources to help students gain those other important skills that they will need in their next transition point. And that was my summary on BMET.
Brilliant, Jenny. Thank you ever so much. I'm just going to sort of top and tail that, people might, just whilst I talk for a couple of minutes, might want to pop a question in the Q&A to Jenny. But I had the privilege this week of being at UCB, University College Birmingham, the old College of Food, and I was with the Vice Chancellor, and was amazed to discover that somewhere that I used to remember having, I don't know, 2,500 students has now got 9,500 students, and that only 15% of what they do is that old College of Food stuff, because the range of courses they have was incredible. And I say that not to cast any shadow over the wonders of BMet, but just because I'm amazed. I've been in the city almost as long as Jenny, and the amount that Southern City, BMet, UCB, you know, the colleges and universities change is, you know, for those of us who sit down in the 11 to 16, 11 to 18 sector, it can be hard to keep up. So, Jenny, thanks very much for that flavour as a reminder of all that's dynamic in the kind of, you know, post-16, post-18 world that we've got a real duty to keep up with. So thank you ever so much. Just looking out for any Q&A on that. If not, then Jenny, maybe your contact details could also just go in the chat in case anybody wants to catch up with you or pick up on anything that you said, given that I can see Sian has helpfully put her link in the chat. I think that's it, which means I'm going to move on. And Kim, I don't see, oh, yes, I do. We have Liz here. So we're going to have a little bit of an update on some relevant things, not specifically around post-16, but on things that are relevant to secondary schools from BEP. And Gill and Liz wanted to just update people about our curriculum offer, subject offer. Gill and Liz, over to you.
I can't see me. Am I here, Liz?
I can see you and hear you. You're definitely here.
Oh, good.
You are.
So, morning, everyone. If I can introduce myself first, my name's Gill Sparrow, and I was a head teacher, a primary head teacher in Shard End for over 22 years. And then I retired as a head teacher and now work for BEP. And it's a joy because I just think about school improvement instead of all the other difficult things that you have to think about. So you might be thinking, well, why are you coming to talk to secondary if you know about primary? We did have a colleague, Bryn, I want to say Bryn Edwards, but it might be Bryn Turtle. That is the opera singer. So he was leading on secondary and he's now left to take up another role. So we realised that we want to do something more about improving our offer to secondary colleagues. And this year I've run successfully networks, subject networks for primary. We did it in just 5 subjects: history, science, DT, art and RE. It's really crucial. I do the analysis for BEP's briefings. And within that, we look at all of the development points from Ofsted. And to my surprise, the secondary points are really similar to the primary points. And curriculum is king. It's all about curriculum, curriculum, curriculum. And within that, it's about how do the subject leaders monitor? It's about how do the teachers know their subject well enough, their pedagogy, the implementation, and it's about their assessment for learning, not the summative assessment, but the assessment for learning. How do they know where those gaps are? So these network meetings, which have happened once a term, have been really successful in helping colleagues to answer that. They've been full of praise for them. We've had 122 delegates who've attended them. We've been able to run it fairly cheaply, even though we've got the national organisations delivering on it. So they're hearing from experts. So what we'd like to do is to propose a similar model. But my colleague Liz, who is secondary trained, you'll be glad to know, and has expertise in this field, has got a plan that she would like to put to you and to hear from you exactly what you would like. Over to you, Liz.
Jill, good morning, everybody. It's fabulous to be in front of lots of people, but although I can't see them, so it's great to be here. Yeah, we're very much looking at following the pattern that Gill has set up successfully with the primary networks. And recently we sent out a form that we had a handful of responses back on actually what subjects you as leaders and your subjects leaders would value, certainly the starting point. So we're not going to flood the market. We're not going to do every curriculum area. I have done that previously in a previous incarnation. I worked for a nearby local authority and successfully ran networks for primary and secondary subjects. So I've got experience of this as well. But we want to make sure that we're getting the right subjects for you and the right framework. So we're thinking of 3 meetings a year, as Gill alluded to, and we're thinking of very much a Key Stage 4 and exam board focus. So we would like to reach out to some of the exam boards and get them to come and kind of speak and support our networks. We're also thinking of a Key Stage 3 focus, maybe with non-specialists, how to support your non-specialists, because we that's a common thread in some subjects, isn't it? But also what areas you would like that to be. I said we did have a handful of responses, so I will recirculate the links so that you can kind of let us know what you're thinking. At the minute, the overarching winners are, so certainly geography is very much a subject that schools are looking at, wishing that they've got a network, design technology, IT and computing, but also things like MFL. Somebody's actually asked for including community languages, which is a really interesting kind of a way that we can look at supporting. And then the third meeting, we were looking to try and get some guidance from you as to what you think a focus would be good. And again, some of the options and some of the ideas that have been put forward are supporting sixth form, breaking down some cultural capital barriers for the disadvantaged, maybe even some of the curriculum common misconceptions. So we really want to get feedback from yourselves as to where the focus of these meetings should be and what subjects we should start with. And then as soon as we've got that, Gill and I can start going out to certainly the contacts that she's already got, and we can start doing that searching so that we're making these networks really successful and getting exactly what you want from them. So I think Kim might have just recirculated that form. It's only a couple of minutes form. It's just asking what subjects would be your focus. We've kind of asked for the top 4 in your school so that we're not kind of getting bogged down. Like I said, we want to get it right from the start, and then we can look at extending if we can make them as successful as we think we can. I think
Brilliant.
has that got everything covered, Gill? Have I missed anything?
I think so, yes. I mean, I just want to reiterate, I was there at the start of it. So that phrase that Tim used to talk about, it's designed by heads for heads, is very much underpins all our thinking. We want to hear from you. What will be useful in your school? We'll be there to make it happen.
Brilliant.
Absolutely.
Thanks ever so much, Gill and Liz. That's great. Just a little kind of wrap up, really. We sent a letter to all secondary heads, I think, just over a week ago, which included the link for Liz's questionnaire. It also mentioned a couple of other things, a conference that is being run for girls going into leadership, where there are 3 free places for every secondary school in the city. Details of that are in the letter. And if you want to know more about that, do contact us. And the third thing that was flagged up, which we're nearly at the end of now in terms of opportunity, was a brilliant offering of a drama GCSE course. So for your year 9s who've just taken options, Birmingham Arts School with the rep are running centrally a drama GCSE course, because we know how much the arts have been squeezed through EBAC, option structures and the like. And so if you want to know more about that, you need to be really fast, because I think the end of this week is the deadline for that. You might want to get in touch with me or with Bavik Palmer, who is leading on that for Birmingham Arts School. All of our information, all of our offers, I'm going to do what Jenny did, is just flag up our brochure, which Gill and Liz and their team have had a huge amount of input into. But this is the smartest, most professional summary of everything that BEP does. And I guess Claire or Kim could probably pop into the chat the link for the electronic version of that as well. So do take up Gill and Liz's offer for contact, because they're keen to know what people need, and do please engage with the brochure, which is out now. And things that are in demand are selling fast, and to some extent it's first come, first serve, because our capacity isn't infinite. But we're really keen that that secondary heads get as much as they need out of that as primaries are doing. So thanks very much for Jenny and Sian, and for Dan in his absence, for their input today. Thank you for being here. Today's session's recorded. If you want to reuse particularly the Dan presentation in a network near you, or you want to pass it on to colleague head teachers, we will have that on our hub so that you can access it there too. But thanks for being with us today. And